Okay, so I made a mistake. Some time ago, I had released my Chess Engine Showcase, which was just a video about me talking about how I actually came about making this thing and my process of doing so. I also gave a lot of demos with pawn promotion, en passant, regular movement, and I also ended up giving a demo about castling, which is a pretty important thing. And while I thought everything was okay, I had thoroughly chucked everything with other chess engines, making sure all the rules were right. Somehow, I had managed to make a mistake on castling, specifically the queenside castling. This was pointed out by a very helpful comment, and I want to give my credit by jwash1916, and he pointed out how I can still castle queenside even if there is a piece blocking the square right next to the rook. So I was really confused because I thought I'd done all of this work. And here you can see what the problem really is. So you can still castle even if the square is blocked or there's an opposing piece attacking it. And I would just say if there's a piece attacking it, you need all three squares to be free and without attack. So in this video, I'm just going to show you what I did to just fix that issue. So let's have a look. So upon closer inspection, I also realized that not only was this not working, but the rook would somehow appear next to the king after castling. Well, quote-unquote castling, really. And I remember this issue very clearly. I was dealing with in the early stages of making this, and somehow through a series of updates, it has appeared once more. So I was going to have to fix this as well. But luckily, hopefully, maybe these are connected. But let's see what we can do. So I was able to narrow down my searching and finding and debugging to this one function inside the move generator. The king cannot move into check. And this is responsible for, well, not allowing the king move into a scenario where it could be captured. So the way this works is it just takes all of the king's legal moves and then plays out each and every one of them, and then just uses the API's, well, the move generator's check for check in order to check if the king is in check. So if the king is in check after moving, then remove that move. So instead of directly removing it, we add it to a to remove list for some reason, and then we remove it after this entire loop. So this is going to be checking for the castling. And over here, we are just going to check. So if we're appending castle chord 0, which is moving to the left, we can also append the last long castle tile, which I removed. So that's all that had to be removed here. I basically wanted to remove it from existence because it really never affects castling, ever, in any situation. So I just wanted to get rid of it altogether. And before I was thinking about just simplifying it, but no, we're going to get rid of it. So now here we are. We want to make sure that we're removing it completely. So if it isn't to remove, then it also removes the other castle coordinates. So this was the main problem. It's checking if the last long castle tile, if there was a check, if the king moved to the last long castle tile, it would appear in the to remove. And if it's in the to remove, then it's not only going to remove itself, it's also going to remove the other castle coordinates. So the reason you're only seeing one here is because the king already has a default move to one to its left and one to its right, so that's just the extra one. So this was the big problem, so we had to remove this part, and again, this took hours to debug just because the code is so clunky, it's so big. So after dealing with that, we were able to solve that issue. But there was still the issue of making the rook appear next to the king when quote-unquote trying to castle, or not even castle. If you moved anywhere in a castling position, it would fail. So I was able to narrow that down to completing the castling, which self-explanatory. It should be completing the I mean, it's not really, but basically after the king has moved, you call this function saying that the king has moved using the king movement tracker. If it has, it will calculate where it has moved and move the rook accordingly, and then return the changed board. So here we have the messy first time. This is what was existing, and from looking at it, there's a lot of things going on. First of all, there's extra stuff like rook ends when we have king placement, and those were being used before. But the main problem here was none of that. It was actually that it was the king not staying on its rank. So all I had to do after going through all of that, I just said if the king, if it's the white king, then you have to be on the same rank. If it's not on the rank, just return. You're never gonna castle. And for black, it has to be on 0 rank. So if you're not on the rank, just don't deal with this function. And then if the king, even if it's on the rank, if it's not in a castling position, which means either it's a 2 or 6 on the board, then just return. Again, you're not gonna have to deal with it. That's all I did. And then I just cleaned up some of this code because I just hated to look at it. And I just basically hard-coded, if the king is not in these 4 positions, then just don't complete castling. So that's how I fixed that problem. And now we can go ahead and have a look at it. So here we are in the castling situation, and you can see that I can castle even though the bishop is guarding that square. So I can go ahead and castle that, but I want to also show you that this does not cause the rooks to go over. So again, same thing here, but I can go ahead and run it again to show you that, make sure the castling actually works. And here we go. Ta-da! The castling is now working, and now any piece can try to block that square. So that's how I fixed the chess engine, and I'll be uploading all the code to GitHub. Right now it is very outdated. I'm not sure why, but I'll make sure I get that updated. And go ahead, check out the code if you want, and make sure you leave a comment for any fixes I should do in future videos. So thank you again for that comment, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.